Okay, now Rabbi says Shalom Aleichem. We are at the Parsha of Devarim. This and the last two before this were mini shurim of 15 minutes each. Pinchas, Matos, Masei, 3 of them before. And this is the 4th one, each one 15 minutes because we missed 3 weeks in the summer. So if you want to make up for Pinchas, Matos, Masei, each one 15 minutes, you can go back. Now we're at Devarim, also 15 minutes. Now let's talk about Devarim. The 5th sefer in the Torah. It's called Mishnah Torah, right? Mishnah Torah means repetition of the Torah. Repetition of the Torah. Or it's called Sefer HaYashar. Because it says in Devarim here, Asis HaYashar HaTov. So why is it called Sefer HaTov? And number 2, how can you call Mishnah Torah second to the Torah? No, it didn't say Mishnah. Like Yosef is Mishnah Lamelech, second to the king. No. Mishnah, Shana, to repeat the Torah, Chazer. It's a review of the Torah. So Mishnah, Torah is Devarim, you repeat the whole Torah. And it's not Mishnah, second to the Torah, because it's 5 books of this equal, everyone is equal. Same with the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Relearning the Torah. Now comes the $64,000 bomba kasha. Repetition of the Torah? There's nothing in there, in this here, about narrations. Nothing about creation of the world. Not the Brias Olam, not the Ovos, nothing about Yosef. Nothing in it about going to Mitzrayim, getting out of Mitzrayim. Nothing about Matan Torah, 0. Nothing about Karbonos. Nothing about Mishkan, building it, nothing. Only from the day they left Har Sinai for the next 38 years, because they spent a year around Har Sinai, 38 or 39 years, that's what it's all about. So why do you call it repetition of the Torah when it's not? And another question. If it's repetition of the Torah, how come we have 200 brand new mitzvahs? Bamidbar, you end with mitzvah number 400 something, and we have about 200 to go, so how do you call this repetition of the Torah? Rabbi said, let me tell you the answer to this gigantic little secret of the Torah. The name of my sefer, Gigantic Little Secrets. Niflaos HaTorah. You know what we're repeating? They just became a nation. They just got the Torah. Now we're going to go in the desert after a year of learning the Torah. We're going to go into the desert and spend 40 years getting used to this new suit. See if it fits. That's the Yahadut, Judaism. They had a rough time, these people. They complained and attacked Moshe 4 times for water. They complained about the money, so Hashem gave them slav. Rebels like Korach didn't believe Moshe is a real shliach. He thought Moshe was a fraud. Then the Egel. We need an intermediary. God has an intermediary, Moshe. Didn't come back. God made a physical form thing. It's called a luchos. It says in Chazal, they believe, the people made the Egel believe in God 100%. They wanted to have an intermediary. So they made an Egel, an idol. A thing. Isn't Moshe a thing? Isn't the Luchos a thing? Base of Mikdash and the Mishkan, isn't that a thing? What do you need things for? God's totally ethereal, and non-material. They made the Egel L'Shem Shemayim. They had to learn for 40 years how to be a Yid. So Korach, who challenged Moshe, ended up going to Gehenna alive. The 250 people were holding the pans. Which one be the Kohen Gadol? They know there's only one Kohen Gadol. 249 people have to die. They all get burnt up. The 2 sons of Aaron tried to create a new religion. They were going to bring a carbon. God didn't ask them. Eish Zora. Instant Misa. You cannot do your own thing. This is not a man-made religion. Every single thing is Min HaShemayim, or you don't have to do it. Or it's Asr, or it's Mutter, or you have to do a Mitzvah or an Isra. You can't make up your own stuff. Even when Hashem said, Anochi Hashem Lekecha, Moshe was on Har Sinai, he says, go down and warn the people not to break rank and panic and rush up the mountain to get close to the Holy Shekinah. They were in such a high level. They didn't care if they're going to die as long as they experienced Elokus for 1 second. Moshe says, Hashem says, I don't like fanaticism. I don't like extremism. I don't like wild people. Everything has to be thought out. First Shema, then Ve'ohavto. First you think it with your logic, then you fall in love with Hashem. It's not the other way around. You have to have Shema, and then you have to have Ve'ohavto. Shema is intellect, knowledge. Ve'ohavto means emotion. You have to keep away from Hashem, because you have to be careful. You can't get very close. That's why we shuckle back and forth. La'ahavo u'liyiro eshemecho. La'ahavo u'liyiro eshemecho. Ahavo and yiro, you have to have 50-50. But what comes first is Shema, listen, understand. Doesn't mean hear. It means understand Kabilu, understand the Torah. And then we'll have to, then you can fall in love with Hashem. But not just to be a frum Jew who's an Amoritz. Because you think it, you feel it's the right thing to do. Like the two sons of Aaron, or Torah, or Dazan Abiram, or Zimri. All these people got executed. You can't do your own thing. You do Hashem's thing. Because He made you, He made your brain, and you do not know what is right or wrong because you're only a human. God created this little brain, and you're going to decide what's right and wrong. You have a right to decide what's right and wrong. If you could make a universe and a world like this, then maybe you could do it. But you didn't make anything. You were made. You're nothing but a 180-pound little piece of something that's going to disappear in a few years. You have no right to decide what's right and wrong. That's why every single guy must keep the Sheva Mitzvah B'nai Noach, and one of them is to believe in Hashem Yisborach. All religions are illegal. Only goyim, I believe goyim have to believe in Hashem Yisborach. If they have other things plus Hashem, that could be mutter for a goy. Shutfus. Not for a yid. Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. But so maybe the Egel was not a Avodah Zorah because they believed in Hashem 100% says. But they needed intermediaries. The Torah calls it Avodah Zorah. Because it's not 400 years after Matan Torah, or 40 years. It was 40 days! Pesach, the Shavuos, 49 days, and then 40 days, more. 40 days? You make an Egel? So Hashem said to Moshe, who made the Egel? The heir of Rab, the converts of Egypt. They were not really good converts. They were Gerim Gerurim. They didn't go to Bezdin. They just decided to keep the Torah. They saw what's going on in Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim, and Moshe is always right. He brings the 10 plagues. Millions of them converted. Erev Rab, said Tagam Yonason, 2.4 million. Almost every other person was a ger. But they're not a true ger because they made a ger. They made an Egel. If you really come from Avram Yisrael Yaakov, you wouldn't make an Egel. So Moshe said, "Who mila Hashem elai?" The whole Shevet Levi came, even Korah. And he said, "Take your sword and go throughout." Yisrael, anyone whose eyes are bulging and green, and stomach is swelling like a woman who's unfaithful to a husband, and they were unfaithful to me, cut their heads off. So in one day they killed 3,000 people. Erev. Other Jews were watching. They should have stormed them and stopped them. They're guilty also, so they didn't die right away. They died in 30 days. So Devarim, let's talk about Sefer Mishnah Torah, repetition of Torah. So it's only the repetition of the experiences after Matan Torah. How to live really after Matan Torah. How to really live a Jewish life. Ein ha-medrash ha'ikra ela ma'aseh. Not the medrash. The Torah is very nice. Now how do you live it? How do you do it? How do you trust in Hashem? What happens if there's no water? Are you going to complain? With no water, don't say a word. You think God's going to let you drop dead when He split the Yam Suf? Have emunah, maybe the thirst will go away. Al pi nes. Don't you live as a nation until today, Al pi nes? You are thirsty and you trust in Hashem, and for the tzaddik, all of a sudden there's no more thirst. There's no water either, but there's no more thirst. How come Moshe didn't eat for 40 days when he went on Shemayim? Because Hashem gave him no desire to eat. Maybe the air had enough nutrition in it that he stayed alive for 40 days, 3 times. How's it possible? How do you get from one place to the other place in 1 minute? How do you do that? How do 625,000 people fit in a place of 625 people? We live al pi nes. In fact, if we're still here in 57 to 72, when all the other nations of the world who attacked us, everyone is gone. Everyone. Mitzrayim doesn't exist anymore. That was the nation of pharaohs, who were all black people, by the way. Mitzrayim was one of the children of Chum. Cush, Put, Canaan and Mitzrayim, they're all blacks. There's no black empire down there. All the nations in the world, modern and ancient, are disappeared. Only we exist today. That they can't get out of their system. They can't handle that. They just can't handle that. We're the Am Hanitzchi, the eternal nation, made to live forever. Now, this sefer is called Sefer HaYashar because it says Vasisa Yashar HaTov. So why don't you call it Tov? Answer is Yashar means the din. HaTov is Lefnim B'Shor Zadin. All Hashem wants you to do is the minimum, the din. You want to do Lefnim B'Shor Zadin more than the Torah is fine, then you can do it, but you're not B'Chuyim. At least do the minimum. Sefer HaYashar. Now there's another sefer called Sefer HaYashar. That's Sefer Shoftim. It says, B'yom Mahem Ein Melech B'Yisrael. Look at Shoftim at the end there, with the Pesel Michal there, and Pelegish Begiva. There was no Melech in Yisrael. Everybody did what he thought was right. They never did a wrong thing those 440 years, except two cases. Pesel Michal and Pelegish Begiva. 440 years, only two crimes. That's pretty good. America's only 250 years old and is going down the drain morally. They were 440 years before they had a Beis Hamikdash, before they had a Melech, before they had a Kohen Gadol, before they had any Korbanos, anything. Well, not Korbanos, but before they had a central government. That's the under the influence of Moshe and Yeshua for 440 years. Yom Mahem Ein Melech B'Yisrael didn't need a Melech. They had Shoftim. Every single one of the Shoftim was Tzadikim. The last Shoftim was Shmuel HaNavi. They asked him, "No, we need a Melech." He says, "Why? Why? Hashem, God is your king. Hashem Malkichem. What do you need a king? Flesh and blood. Hashem Malkichem. They didn't want to have a king. They didn't need a king. They were in the highest Madrega." Finally, after 440 years, finally, came Shaul HaMelech for 2 years from the wrong Shevet, and then comes David 40 years, then Shlomo 40 years. But ideally, we read that Hashem is the Melech. And there's to be like that in the future. And another thing from the Sefer, Eicha. Let's talk about that now. Eicha says in Devarim. This week we're going to read Eicha. Eicha Esel Avadi. Moshe said, "How can I handle you alone? How can I do this job alone?" Hashem says, "Okay, get Jayonim to help you. You know, every 10th person will be a Dayan, and every 20th person will be a Dayan, every 50th person, every 100th person, every 1000th person. So they had 78,000 Dayanim. That's right. And because if you say every 1,000 had one Dayan, so there were 600 of them, 600,000, and then every 100 had a Dayan, so there was 6,000 of them, and every 50 was a double of that, 12,000, comes out 78,000 Dayanim. Every 8th person was a Dayan. That's why in Klal Yisrael today, everybody has an opinion. They know everything. People know everything. Everybody knows everything. They don't need a rabbi. Everybody knows everything. We all know everything, we think. Therefore, Jews want to speak up and they want to offer their opinion about stuff. So Moshe said, Eicha Esel Avadi. The Haftorah for this week, Parshas Devarim, is Yeshaya. Eicha Ha'yisol Zona. How did she become like a Zona, Klal Yisrael? And then the next day, Tisha B'Av, we read, Eicha Yoshva Bodar. How did she live alone? Yerushalayim, Jewish people, isolated, abandoned by the world. So we read Eicha, Eicha, Eicha 3 times. Moshe Rabbeinu, Yeshaya, and Yirmiyahu in Megillus Eicha. And I want to tell you one thing before we close. Eicha Yoshva Bodad is very sad in Eicha. How does she sit alone? It's a very alone. She's very lonely, right? But how could it be a bad thing? Doesn't it say a few weeks ago? Am Lavodod Yishkam. Bilam said there's a nation that doesn't need anybody. They're the wealthiest. They have God's protection, divine protection. They're the strongest. They got the most powerful nation. People are afraid of them. And Bilam said, and they are Am Lavodod Yishkam. They're alone, independent. So Lavodod is a good thing. So how can Eichel say Eishwa Lavodod is a bad thing? Answer is there's two differences, great difference between Eichel Yoshua Bodod, lonely, and Am Lavodod Yishkon, it lives alone. That's independent. That's a bracha. Alone is a bracha. Lonely is a kalala. Okay, Rabbi Sei gesund and stark, and we will now, after this, do another recording of Eicha. Sei gesund.